Take it all down. Take it all down, bro. I'm done. I can't. Fed up. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Behind the Lens. On today's episode, I sit down with Duane Shoots Toys. Unlike the problems I'm having, where I can't get this shot and I can't get the idea from my head into the camera to come out the way I want it to come out, Duane puts out pictures that seem flawless and like he could do no wrong. So I sit down with him and ask him, how do you do it? So let's just get into the episode. Here's Duane Shoots Toys. Appreciate you for taking some time, man, to do this.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, man. I've been following you for a while, and from like what you're doing now with the whole 3D printing and shit, and from I remember you making your own dials, like with the backboards and just printing out a ton of paper that I know you probably wasted a ton of ink.
I went through a ton of ink, a ton of paper. Yeah, it's been a journey, man. I've definitely evolved over the years and gotten more efficient with the way I do things, and it's been fun, man. I'm still learning. I feel like I have a lot left to learn, so I'm still enjoying.
Yeah, it's been super dope, man. Just like it's I guess this day and age of just watching people, right, with the whole social media aspect of it, it's easier to do that, especially like depending on how much you share. But
Yeah.
it's super dope, and like when you did that Matchbox thing, I was like, oh, that's fire, like with the little what was it, like a golden or green one, a pimped out one or something.
Oh, the Hot Wheels one, you mean?
The Hot Wheels, yeah, the Hot Wheels.
Yeah,
that was dope. Like that, man, is like it's super cool, like to see, like
Thanks,
from like people in the community, and that it's super awesome. Yeah, I've been a fan.
No, I appreciate it, man. I see your name in my notifications quite a bit, just liking and commenting. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm not stalking at all. What inspired you to pick up the camera and want to start shooting figures, or in general just picking up the camera, I guess?
Well, I actually bought a camera initially because I was getting into travel photography, and I wanted to take pictures of landscapes and all these interesting locations all over the world. I wanted to make little video vlogs and post them on YouTube. That's the kind of stuff that I was getting into initially.
Yeah.
And then in the process of learning how to use my camera, I would watch a ton of technical videos on YouTube. And every once in a while, I'd run into something more of a creative type of photography video. And I saw this video of someone who was taking photos of toy cars, and she was making them look, realistic. And I was just fascinated by this. So I just kind of did a little bit more digging. I went down this rabbit hole and then discovered this whole community of action figure photographers. And I was just instantly hooked because I wasn't a collector before. Like, I had a lot of toys as a kid, but then when I became a teenager, we kind of sold them. And, I was getting back into photography in my mid to late 30s. So it was kind of later on. And yeah, I just fell in love with this whole action figure photography thing. And went out, bought some figures, borrowed some figures from my friends, and just started practicing, taking photos, and it just sort of snowballed from there.
Nice. How long has it been since you started up?
I started in March 2018, so just around 5 years or so.
Nice. Yeah. Are you still like, even though like I know you share majority of the stuff is like what you're doing now, but do you do that outdoor photography that you wanted to do?
I haven't had a chance to do any kind of traveling recently, but I think the last time I did like an international trip was around 2019 or so. I went to Hong Kong for one of my friends' weddings, and I got to do some fun photography over there, just going around and taking shots of all the buildings and all that. So that was a lot of fun. But I haven't I haven't really had a chance to do any kind of travel photography after that. Definitely want to get out. Like once I start traveling more, I'll definitely be doing more of that.
Yeah, there was a photographer I used to follow, and he went from toy photography and then literally just stopped. My man's name was Nick, and then he stopped, and then all of a sudden he started getting like these vintage looking cameras and taking like photography of just like an abandoned house, a stop sign, and I'm like, wow, I kind of like this more than the toy photography that he was doing because it's so like just different, So like if you do that, I can't wait to see some of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot of fun just to do something different than what you normally do.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly, right? Get like step out of your lane, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
When you started doing this, you said you had a camera for that. What kind of camera was it that you started with?
I'm still using the same camera.
Oh, nice.
It's a Panasonic GH3. It's an old camera. They've made a lot of newer models since then that are much better, but I haven't really felt a need to upgrade. This does everything I need it to do. Eventually, I mean, I will get something better, but for now, this does everything I needed to do. So it's been great for me, and it's a smaller camera too, so it's convenient for moving around and taking with you when you go places.
Nice. And do you still feel like maybe like you're still learning it, or like do you pretty much have it packed? Like, oh, I know exactly like settings and all that whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are tons of settings that I have no idea about that I haven't touched at all. But for what I do, I've got like the basics down, right? So I do a
Yeah.
lot of like all my TikTok and Instagram videos are recorded on here too. So it's not just
Mhm.
still photography, it's video and all that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, for the time being, it's good enough for what I do.
Do you use any like different accessories? Maybe like I don't think I've ever seen you use flight stands and stuff like that, but like maybe something for the figures or like lighting, things like that. Like, do you use a
Yeah,
lot of that stuff?
I have a few lights. I don't get too complicated with my lighting. I've got a couple of LED light panels that provide some general light, and then I have some smaller. I don't know where they are here. Oh, here. These little Litra lights. So I
Okay.
just kind of place these throughout my scenes, and then they'll add a little bit of atmosphere. You can add some color gels to them too to change the color.
Oh, nice.
Um, but yeah, for the most part, it's not too complicated. I would say like the photography aspect of what I do is not my main focus. Like my main focus is like the crafting and like the building of the dioramas and coming up with unique concepts. And then the photography is kind of just a way of capturing what I do. I'll be honest, like, I don't think I'm a great photographer. I still feel like I have a lot to learn, especially when it comes to lighting and getting it to look a certain way.
Hmm.
So I struggle with certain aspects of that, but I like to put most of my energy into just building dioramas and crafting custom figures and that kind of thing. That's the stuff that I enjoy the most.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Then like you saying that, like we were talking before. So like, what made you start doing all that, like your own stuff at first, to now that you're 3D printing your own things?
Yeah, it was really out of necessity because I was getting all these ideas and I just had no way of really, capturing them without building the stuff myself. I had to, right? Because especially, a lot of the, I do a lot of stuff that's themed around sneakers and video games and music. And I had a difficult time finding like pre-made props for that kind of
Hmm.
stuff, right? So I had to do it myself. And I started with polymer clay. I was sculpting things and just
Yeah.
watching YouTube tutorials, just, cutting them and bending them and all that. And that was good, but obviously you're not going to get that much detail with that kind of thing. So a couple of years ago, I got my first 3D printer, and that completely changed the game for me. Like it made made it possible to do things that I couldn't do with clay. The detail that you can get with 3D prints is fantastic, and it just allowed me to express all these ideas that were coming into my head just by, you know, building and printing and painting all these things.
Like how long would it take you to, when you were building your own stuff and printing everything out like on paper and the backgrounds and and sculpting basically, right? Like how long would it take you for like a certain shot?
It would take a while. Like actually, as I've gotten more advanced with my crafting, my shots actually take longer now because I just have this desire to put as much detail into the scenes as possible. So I'm making a lot more stuff now than I did before. But in the beginning, I would say it took anywhere from 3 to 5 days to build a scene and take the photo. Now, like I put so much detail into these things. I'm printing like sometimes 40, 50 little props to put in the background for like each set that I do. And now it can take like, you know, a week to 2 weeks to do a shot. And especially if I'm trying to like document it too, like record videos, showing the behind the scenes process, that slows the whole thing down like a ton, right? Because you got to think about camera angles and trying to, you know, visualize what shots to use and all that. I mean, in an ideal world, I would have my own cameraman just following me and like recording exactly what I do. That would save so much time and effort. But, you know, for now, obviously that's not feasible. So I'm trying to do it all myself. But yeah, it's time consuming, but you know, I love it.
With all the like accessories that you used to have and use, like with the little miniature sneakers, the keychain looking ones and things like that, would you keep all of that stuff, or would you get like eventually start getting rid of them and or using them?
Yeah, a bit of both. Like if it's a prop that I think I'm going to use again in the future, then I'll try to hang on to it, right? But the problem is, like, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. There's like hardly any space at all, right? So eventually I've got to get rid of some of these things, right? And I try to build my dioramas so that they're, I guess, disposable. So like I build them up, take my scene, take my photo, and then I take it apart, and I'll just hang on to the pieces that I think I'll reuse in the future, right? But there's lots of things like the walls, like, you know, I don't end up using them a lot of times, so I'll just kind of dismantle them. The good thing is a lot of it is made out of paper and foam board and stuff, so I can either recycle or reuse those parts. But it's like I'm just looking around my room here, and it's just packed with stuff all over the place. I'm kind of embarrassed. I don't want to, you know, turn the camera around to show you, but it's a madhouse in here. Just because I don't have the space to keep everything. It's just not feasible, right? So yeah, but yeah, sneakers I've got. I like to hang on to them because there's a good chance I'll be doing more sneaker shots in the future. So I've got maybe 100 pairs of miniature sneakers just sitting around, and tons of boxes along with them.
If I'm not mistaken, I remember you doing that one shot where it looks like he's sneaker shopping, right? When you had the figure sneakers and it was like just the wall, and I was like, wow, the dude, like, what are you gonna do with all that?
Yeah. So it's crazy here. I've got too much stuff.
How much easier did that 3D printing machine make things instead of like you sculpting and all that, and probably having to go out and looking for these things?
Yeah, it changed the game because like the good thing about 3D printing is that there are thousands and thousands of models online that you can download, right, for free, right? People will sculpt things and then upload the model online. So when you're just getting started and you don't know how to sculpt things yourself, you can just, you know, download a chair or a table or, you know, just random items and then print them out. And the great thing is I can just turn on my printer, I can go to sleep, and it'll print while I'm sleeping, and I wake up the next morning and it's done, right? So it saves a lot of time. And it also, you know, with 3D printing, you get a level of detail that I wouldn't be able to get just by sculpting it myself. So it's been a complete game changer. And more recently, I've gotten into 3D scanning. So I've got a 3D scanner, and I can use that to scan like sneakers, or most recently I scanned my face and printed an action figure of my face. And that's something that I wouldn't be able to do, you know, with sculpting with hand, right? So it's completely changed the game for me.
Yeah, I remember when you first put up that you got that machine, and I quickly Googled it, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, yeah, this is not for me. Way too much. But it's awesome. It looks dope. And I was like, man, the amount of things that you can probably do with something like that, right? And make it a lot easier to like you said, scan it and then get it printed on, other than you actually trying to sculpt it and get that same exact detail. So I could imagine like how much crazier and crispier probably things are coming out.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like I said, I've got my own little action figure here, and this is like pretty much like an exact scan of my face, right? And you can do all these crazy things, and now I can start inserting myself into my scenes too, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
in
that's
the next
awesome.
few months. So yeah.
I remember when like I first started following, you were using a lot of like the quarter scale and the 1/6 scale stuff.
Yeah.
You prefer that over the 1/12 scale?
Yeah, like I mean, each scale will have its benefits, but generally, I like working with 1/6 scale the most because, first of all, when I'm building props, the scales are the props are a little bit bigger, right? So since they're bigger, I can put more detail in them, and it's easier to make them look more realistic. If you're working with 1/12 scale, everything's quite a bit smaller, so like it's more difficult to paint things and put detail into the props.
Yeah.
Also, with 1/6 scale, it's really easy to customize figures. Like you can buy clothing really easily.
Yeah.
Head sculpt. So I've got a bunch of just generic bodies, and like I've got a drawer full of just jeans and t-shirts and sweatshirts, and I'll just kind of quickly whip up a figure and customize it, right? So I love that aspect of it, and it's just really easy to do in 1/6 scale.
Yeah, and those sneakers, they slide right in the 1/6 figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, they slide right in. It's all. I love those. I love the fact of that when I first had them, and I had the Hot Toys Deadpool, and I was like looking at them. I looked at his feet. I was like, I think they could fit. And
Yeah.
slipped right in. I was like, oh, that's staying on there.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's really easy to customize in 1/6 scale. 1/12 scale is good if I'm doing like a wider shot with lots of characters in it. Just because like it's more feasible with the amount of space that you need. But typically it's 1/6 scale that I'm working in. And like you said, I've also done quarter scale shots as well. Those are great, but they just require so much space. So you got to have like this big table, and it's a little bit more difficult to put together. But generally, you'll get higher levels of detail in those shots. So I love doing them.
That's so cool. Are you mostly like indoor shooting, or have you done shots outdoors?
Yeah, I'm pretty much indoors 100% of the time. I just like the fact that I have complete control over the environment. Like if you're outdoors, there's all these factors that come into play, right? The sunlight, the wind, people walking by, all those things are kind of uncontrollable. And my photography is primarily focused on building stuff, so it's better to do it indoors for me. But you never know. I might try something outdoors because I mean, natural sunlight, you can't beat that, right? So
Yeah.
there are positives to that too. So I might try it at some point.
For the camera that you have, do you use different types of lenses, or do you like just use one main lens? And what kind is it?
I've got a few different lenses. I think about 3 or 4 different lenses, and they basically just have different fields of view. So if I need like a wide shot, I've got a wider angle lens. I've got a macro lens that will let you get in nice and tight. One of my favorite lenses to use is a fisheye lens. And the reason I like it is because it creates this visual distortion that almost looks like a music video or something. Like it pushes the center out towards you, and it's popping out at you. And it gives you a wide field of view. So I love using that for just creating artistic looking shots as well.
The more I see those fisheye shots, like with anyone using them, the more I want that lens. And every time I see that, Beastie Boys is always the first thing that pops into my head in their music videos, and it's just like I want to
Exactly.
do a shot that kind of recreate like maybe a scene from that or something, and I'm like, oh, that'll look so cool. And then as quickly as I think about it, it quickly leaves my head, and I'm just like, what was I thinking about? But well, hopefully I'll remember this time and try to look into that. But yeah, that's pretty cool. A fisheye lens is something different, definitely
Yeah,
different.
yeah,
Yeah,
I love it. I've used it so many times too, and it's just one of my favorite go-to lenses.
yeah, that I got to look into that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, no problem.
I can't fucking spell shit. All right, um, yeah, I gotta get me one of those lenses, B. This is so cool. um, with you, so you're doing all that stuff, right? And um we've seen how like you've worked with companies like you've mentioned before. You did the little shot with the Hot Wheels, right? Hot Wheels, yeah, Hot Wheels. Like, do did you just come out and like just hit you up and say, hey, you want to do this?
Yeah, pretty much. I've been pretty fortunate in that I haven't really had to chase down collaborations and brand deals. I post as much content as I can and try to create, stuff that I think will get shared, and eventually those companies will see that content and then reach out to me. So pretty much every collab that I've done has been just a result of a company seeing my stuff either on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, and then just reaching out to me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I remember a couple of my friends that don't even know anything about none of this, like this world of toy photography and stuff. And one of the most recent ones I remember was it Raphael with the Yankee fitted,
Yeah,
and Complex I think shared it, right?
yeah,
And they're sending it to me like, oh, look how cool this is. I was like, yeah. I was like, pretty dope, huh? Nah, yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
like stuff like that. I was like, yeah, it's so crazy. Like, one thing is it's going viral in the community, but then to go outside of that with people that probably have no idea what that even is, and to get that out, like it's so cool to me, like how did that feel when like they hit you up and said, hey, can we share this?
yeah. That was wild. Like that. I think that's probably my favorite photo. It's definitely up there. And I kind of do that by design as far as like breaking out of the toy community. Because like if you think about it, I'm sure like the vast majority of people have never even heard of this concept of toy, like taking photos of action figures. It's so foreign to most people, right? So I've been trying to like break out and like target specific niches that are outside of action figures, like hip hop and sneakers, and just nostalgia in general, sports. I'll do those scenes, and then it's wild when I see people sharing my work that are like not even related to action figures. It's crazy. Like Complex has done it, like tons of accounts on Instagram, and I'll get DMs from like just celebrities or athletes and just saying they love my work, which is like it's mind blowing to me. So
It must
it's
be so like surreal, right? Like, damn,
yeah,
that I could. It's like you said, it's so cool because for like someone that has no idea, like I said, like my friends, they have no idea. They know I got like toys, and they look at me like I'm a weirdo because of it. But for
yeah,
them to then know, like, oh yeah, he likes this. Let me show him this picture, and I'm like, yeah,
yeah. I know
right
that.
on, man. It's like that, but and then, it puts more eyes, I guess, in the community, and for something maybe some days, someone else gets the same chance that you got, like, right, that, and someone else gets shared all over the world and stuff. That must be crazy. But
Yeah,
that one shot, like, it's dope. Like, Turtles is my jam, and you got me with the fitted and everything, and the nostalgia, just that picture is
yeah,
like, yeah, I can see just myself just being like right there next to him, like, or on the other side of that lens, and it's like, yeah, that's my boy's room or something.
yeah. That was like my tribute to New York hip hop from the '90s. Like it's just and the Ninja Turtles. Like it's all everything coming
Yeah,
together.
you
So,
dude, you hit every feel in my
yeah.
body with that image. You know, like it's so dope. With figures like that, you know, sometimes you it might be difficult to capture with what you want, with the idea in your head. Has there been a figure that you've gotten that you probably had like ideas for, and when you just try to shoot it or maybe set up the scene or anything, it just wasn't working out?
That doesn't happen that often, but there have definitely been situations where I've been limited. Like one of the biggest issues that I've run into in that case is just the articulation. Like if a figure has very limited articulation, you can't really pose it in a certain way. So I've found ways around that. Like I've destroyed quite a few figures just to get a good shot. Like I'll chop the legs off and then re-glue them in a certain way, or shave bits off so that their arms can move further. I've done that a few times for sure. So I've got like action figures around here that are like half destroyed, half in a weird pose or whatever. But it happens from time to time. But fortunately, not that often.
Is there a figure or like that you just love to shoot that you might just go back and used it multiple times for like different shots?
Yeah, just those quarter scale Ninja Turtles, like these guys right here, like the Raphael. I love shooting these turtles. I've shot them so many times over the years, and I'm actually working on a shot with these guys right now. It's just it's instant nostalgia when you see those figures, right? It just takes you back to like 1990 or whatever, and they look amazing. They look like they stepped right out of the movie, right? So
Yeah.
Those are probably my favorite figures of all time.
Yeah, those quarter scale stuff, man, they got me. They got me like the instant that they announced it and I saw them and I was like, yeah, I need all of that.
Yeah.
So I just everything about them just looks so great. Details
Yeah.
and everything, you know. I remember that was one of my first times actually saying, let me try this on my cell phone. The trench coat Raph, took
Yeah.
him outside in the snow, literally just propped them up, took a shot, and I was like, that looks cool. It was not cool at all. But I was like, that it was because of those that like I was like, yeah, let me try to get into this and why I want to learn more and more,
Right.
If there was something that you could improve with everything you do, right? What would it be and why?
Well, I definitely need some help with lighting. It's something that I struggle with to this day. I wish there was some kind of automatic device that you could just like turn on and then it would set the lighting perfectly. But it's a struggle sometimes, because I'll spend like a week building a diorama, and then I set it up, and then I got my camera ready, and then just the lighting isn't hitting the right way, right? So like there have been times where I've just struggled for a day just trying to get these lights positioned and all that. So that I think is something that I need to improve on. I'm still learning. Like I still feel like I'm pretty early on in the process, and I've got a lot more to learn. So yeah, a lot of work ahead of me, but
Hey,
I love it though.
You're definitely fooling me if you think you're an amateur. Because it definitely doesn't play that way. So you're saying you feel like the accessories and the build is primary to the shot, right? And the pose, like I guess the figure is the secondary object in what you do. Sometimes I'll see a shot and I feel like there's just too much going on, right? But I'm not saying with yours, but I'm general, right? Like there's like I see some shots and it's like the figures there and there's like just tons of stuff going on in the background. How do you like, I guess, balance that out so it doesn't seem that way, where like when you say for instance with that Raphael shot, the first thing that catches my eye is him, right, with the hat and the Timbs and everything. and then it's like, oh, look at all the stuff around, and you pick up these little things like the Nintendo and things like that. But there's other shots, it's like where the figure is not the first thing that captures my eye, you know. It's like, oh, this explosion or all this stuff. Like, how do you feel like maybe unintentionally, right? Whatever. I'm not that smart. How do you feel like you balance that out between like all the props that you got going on and then the figure itself?
Yeah, well, with me, it's pretty easy to get carried away with all the detail in the background. Like I'll spend so much time just putting all that stuff in there, and like I want people to see it. But at the end of the day, the main focus, I always try to make the main focus the character, right? Whoever the character is in the scene, whatever they're doing, that's generally going to be what the eye is drawn to. At least I try to set it up that way. And then I do have a lot of detail in the back, but I don't try to make that like the main focus. And I guess a way of doing that is just, you know, adjusting the depth of field, making sure that the main character is in focus. Lighting can help too. You can make like the main character lit up a little bit brighter and then darken the background. There's different ways to go about it, but I always try to focus on whatever the character is doing as the main thing that your eye is drawn to.
I one of the shots that just popped into my head was the Fresh Prince, the Fresh Prince ones, right? When you got the jerseys and everything. Did you make those on your own, or did you like find them somewhere?
Which shot was it in particular? Do you remember?
I want to say it's the one with when he's wearing the high school jersey, the yellow one. Damn, I think I remember even hitting you up about it, like where you got the jersey.
I don't have an actual high school jersey of the Fresh Prince, but I have included it in the background. For that one, I just took a photo and just kind of made a little plaque, I guess, with the jersey inside of it.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's one. I can't remember.
But there have been times like I did a shot with Biggie wearing like that yellow Bad Boy jersey. He was shopping for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Yeah. So that one I had to get custom made, right? So there's a guy on Instagram called 1/6 Custom, and he does like all kinds of like basketball jerseys and stuff. So I'll just send him some photos of what I want, and he'll custom make something for me. That's another skill. Like I would love to learn how to sew my own stuff together, but I just don't have that knowledge, right? There's only so much I can do. So,
yeah, I know. Right? Imagine like if you're talking about a week or 2 weeks doing a shot, that's like a month. You're just needle and threading it, everything, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
When you set up a shot, so you set it up, and do you take it down like right after you're done with it, or do you like do it after you feel like, all right, like this is done, the shot's done, then I'll take it down?
Yeah, most of the time I'll take it down as soon as I've taken that final photo, just because I need to clear the space out, and I will dismantle the walls and then take the props off and then put the props in like little storage containers. But usually like right after I finish the shot, it's dismantled and I need to clear up space for the next project.
Has there been any times where like you've taken it down and then you're like, I guess, going through the photos and you're like, damn, I don't like anything, and then it's like I don't want to go back to it because I just took everything down?
Fortunately that hasn't happened, but like I try to make sure like I've got the shot before I dismantle everything. So like I've taken my photo, I'll look through them, and then once I've decided, okay, I've got what I need, then I'll take it down.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
It's a nightmare scenario.
I took a shot and I'm like, oh yeah, this came out good, and then my lens is like this, but then when I blow it up and I'm like, oh nah, and I'm like, yeah I don't want to do this anymore. I'm doing it all over again. No, I'm good with that.
Hey guys, I hope you've been enjoying the episode so far. I'm just about to call it quits because I can't get this shot, man. But why don't you take a look at some of these photos that Duane's done over the years, from where he started to where he's at now. Take a look at some of these.
With the 1/6 scale stuff, like with the like, you know, with the Biggie and like the Will Smith, I think if I'm not mistaken, you had a one with Prince, right?
Yep.
Are those all custom head sculpts, or are they like third party figures, or stuff? What is that?
Well, each situation is a little bit different. Like for the Will Smith, for example, that was originally a Men in Black action figure that's made by Enterbay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just basically customized it. So I just got new clothing for it, and I made like a hat and all these different things just to customize it. With other figures like the Biggie, normally I'll just buy the head sculpts, and then I'll just attach them onto generic bodies, and then just create the figure myself by putting whatever clothes I want on it. So I try to do a lot of customization, right? It's not like difficult stuff. It's just getting pieces and putting them all together.
Hmm.
But yeah, most like the Prince was just a head sculpt that I saw on eBay. So I got the head sculpt, and then just for the jacket, I used the Joker jacket, the purple jacket. And then I just glued some little rhinestones on it and stuff, and just customized it a little bit. So I'm just taking whatever I can find. eBay is like a great source for head sculpts. So I just go on there every once in a while and just search for 1/6 head sculpts of celebrities, and they've got like tons of them on there.
Has there ever been like a shot or an idea in your head that you've been wanting to do that you haven't done yet?
There's quite a few. Like I'm pretty lucky in that ideas come to me fairly easily. So whenever I get an idea, I'll just write it down in this text file that I have on my computer, and I've got like maybe 100 ideas there. And I just kind of pick and choose whichever idea I want to do, and then just work on it. There have been a lot of ideas that I haven't been able to do yet. I definitely want to do more stuff related to sitcoms that I used to watch, like Seinfeld and The Office and all those shows. Like I've done a couple of Office shots before, but there's still a lot of ideas that I have for characters that I want to make. But it just takes time to put everything together.
With now that you have the 3D printer and scanner,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever thought about going and like I guess redoing an older shot that you did with maybe like just the sculpting and everything like that?
Yeah, definitely. I do that fairly often, actually. Like I'll just take an old concept. Like I've done so many different iterations of like sneaker photos or like video game photos. I'll just kind of make it a little bit better each time, right? So with the 3D printer, I can do stuff that I couldn't do before, as far as just getting different custom sneakers. Like I did one shot with Spider-Man, and I made this like rainbow colored closet full of sneakers, right? And those were all like custom sneakers that I 3D printed and painted different colors. So I wouldn't be able to do that before without the 3D printer. So I'm just I try to remix old ideas every so often, for sure.
Have you ever gotten hit up by like maybe like something like that? Like I don't want to call it Hollywood, but like a TV type of thing situation where they'd be like, hey, you know, we like what you do. Can you do something for us like that?
Yeah, there have been a couple of like I guess I've had a few like celebrities or athletes message me wanting like custom action figures, and I'm not quite at the level to like make custom sculpts of people, unless like if I have the ability to 3D scan their face and stuff, I can do it. But as far as digitally sculpting their faces, like you know, just by looking at photos, I can't really do that. So there have been a few. Don't necessarily want to mention any names, but there have been a few people that have kind of reached out to me in that kind of context. Eventually, I'd love to get to the point where I'm just able to make custom figures of anyone, but I still need to develop my skill set a little bit more before I get there. I'm still learning, right? So you guys are watching this journey as I learn new skills and implement them into my work.
Yeah, it's been hella fun watching, man. It's been hella fun watching. This last shot that you just did with yourself, and it was The Last of Us, right? From that show.
Yeah.
Last of Us, that's the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that you're using your own figure, and are you got what's the next thing that you would want to do with that figure of yourself? Maybe put yourself in a sneaker shopping.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I mean, I can make a shot of me like dunking on Michael Jordan or something, or like, reimagine old movie scenes with me in it, like as let's just say I'm Batman, or I'm in Back to the Future or whatever, right? So I've got a lot of ideas as far as what I can do with it. I'm just gonna kind of have fun with it and just try different things and experiment.
My question was, how, like, where do the ideas come from? Do they just like randomly just pop into your head, or is it because you're watching something, or anything? Like, where do they just pop in?
Yeah, like a lot of my ideas come from childhood, like just reliving memories. I have a lot of fond memories of playing the Nintendo, right, and using the Power Glove and using the Nintendo Zapper and things like that, right? So I'll just be thinking about these different memories from my childhood, and then I'll kind of mix them with characters that I like, and then create scenes with them, right? Other times I might be like just walking down the street or doing some shopping, and I'll see something that might make for a good toy photo. So I'll just make a mental note of that and then come home and start working on something. So it comes from different places. A lot of it is though just memories and just real life experiences that I've had, or fantasy situations, crossovers that I would love to see.
When let's say you pop an idea, just comes to you right now, right? And you said you write it down and you jot it down on your computer and whatnot. Do you start it like right away? Like does it excite you? Like, oh man, and just like run home and just start doing it right then and there, or like do you like plan it out? I guess. Like,
Yeah.
like like some people might like draw it out or something,
Mm-hmm. I have so many ideas. I wish I could start working on all of them at once, but it's just not feasible, right? So 90% of the time I'll just get an idea and I'll just write it down and put it away, right? When I am working, I typically am working on 3 or 4 different projects at a time. So I'll be 3D printing parts for one project. I'll be painting stuff for another one. I'll be building like a custom figure for a different project. So it's just like little bits of different projects happening all at once. And then I'll just kind of eventually, as I get closer to finishing something, I'll just narrow in on one of them and then just finish it off and then just go on to the next one. But typically, like my ideas, I'll just write them down and then put them aside, unless I'm like super, super excited about something and I need to get it done. It depends, right? But a lot of it comes down to timing, and as far as like what else I'm working on at any given moment. I only have the ability to work on one thing kind of at a time. So
has there been any times where like you just had something that you just like, oh my God, I got to do this now, and just pushed everything else to the side and said, nah, we're doing this like right now?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, that Ninja Turtle shot, I think I just got hit with some inspiration. I just had to get it out of me, right? Just listen. Sometimes, yeah, I'll be listening to music and I'll be like thinking, oh, that would be so cool, and I'll just like have to do it. I just every shot and situation is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Right?
I see that you have those new Mario figures behind you.
Mm-hmm.
I just picked up the Mario myself, and it creeps me out because he follows you everywhere. You like, no matter where, right?
Those eyes, right?
Yeah. That's why I don't have him facing me. like with stuff like that, when you just get things, and because you deal with a lot of like 1/6 scale stuff, do you collect a lot of like figures, or are you like super picky and like, nah, just get this, or I just get that, you know?
Yeah, usually like I'll buy figures and then I'll use them for a few months and then I'll sell them to make room for new figures, right? So it's just kind of there's a flow, right? Recently I got rid of like a lot of my stuff, so I only have like just the bare bones figures right now. But part of it is like just out of necessity. Like I don't, like I said earlier, I don't have a lot of space to work with, so I've got to, keep things
Yeah.
flowing, right? So, yeah.
So how do you for someone like myself, that if I buy this, now I need every one of them because of it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you control that? Like, I don't get it.
It's hard, man. It's hard. Like it's an expensive hobby. Like especially like some of these worlds, like the Ninja Turtles, they've got so many different characters, right? All these enemies and side characters, and you get one, you kind of have to get all of them, right? So it definitely adds up. But I try my best to like limit as much as I can, and once I've worked with a certain figure for a while, I'll kind of get rid of it, sell it, and use that money to buy some new stuff.
That the Raphael shot that we were talking about before, you said that was one of your favorite shots. Is there another shot that you maybe is maybe your second best, or is there a shot that maybe when you look at it now you're like, nah, I could do way better than this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my shots, I look at them and just think, oh, I could do a much better job of it now. Especially like the stuff that I did earlier on, because in the beginning I was sculpting things out of clay, and now I can 3D print them and do a lot of cool things like highly detailed props, right? So as far as specific shots, it's hard to say. Like I've done some stuff related to video games and vinyl records. Like I've done some record store dioramas, and those ones I think I can do better now, just because I have a little bit more knowledge and stuff. And then back to I guess my second favorite shot. It's really difficult to pick. It's like picking your favorite child, right?
I could do that easily.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's really difficult. The shots that I enjoy the most are the ones that have like personal meaning. I did a shot with Mike Tyson playing Punch Out using the Power Glove.
Yeah.
That one I love because Punch Out was the very first Nintendo game that I bought, and I remember like having so much trouble beating Mike Tyson because that game was like impossible for a kid.
And to this day.
Yeah, to this day, right? And then I remember like when they announced the Power Glove, I was like, this is it. This is the secret. This is gonna help me beat Mike Tyson, right? And I got the Power Glove, and it was actually more difficult to use than just using the controller itself. So I was like a frustrated like 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid.
You're not lying, man. You're not lying. That glove sucked.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was just cool to have.
Yeah,
I
had it. I wish I hung on to it, but it's kind of a sad story. I actually, a little bit later on, I basically took it all apart just to see what like internal workings were. Like they had the variable resistors and the fingers and all that. I was curious about that.
Yeah.
And now it's in the trash somewhere. But I wish I had hung on to it because it looks so cool.
I feel you on that, man. When I was younger, something about me wanting just to know how things worked, and I love knowing behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And I would just rip apart stuff and be like, oh, that's cool, and never put it back. And it's like, man, I do it now. I have like a bunch of stuff behind me where it's like all broken apart, and I'm just like, I look at it, I'm like, I'm not putting this back together. Like, you're crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
you get a lot of inspiration from nostalgia and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And other than I also see that, like you just mentioned, you do a lot of the music stuff too. Like, what type of music do you like that you listen to mostly? Because I see you do a lot of hip hop, dope, like 90s stuff.
Yeah, that's what I grew up on. Mainly, it was mainly the West Coast stuff. So I loved like Death Row Records, Snoop, Dre, Dog Pound, Tupac, all that stuff. So I was a West Coast kid, but I still love like Biggie and a lot of the stuff on the East Coast, Nas. But that's when I was really getting into music, like in the I'd say mid '90s, early to mid '90s. Mainly hip hop, and I also listen to like other genres as well, like electronic and rock and stuff like that. But hip hop was what really got me into just listening to music.
Yeah, cool. That's nice. With like stuff like that, and obviously watching music videos and things like that. Have you done like maybe try to recreate a scene from a music video or an album cover?
Um, Not specifically. I've definitely had ideas for recreating music videos. Um, Nothing comes to mind right now, but I did. So before I got into toy photography, actually, I was like beat making was my main thing. I used to make beats for probably 10, 15 years. And that was like my main passion. So I did a scene with the Mandalorian in the studio with all the synthesizers and drum machines and stuff. And I made like I made a beat, like a remix of the Mandalorian theme song. So I was trying to find a way to incorporate my love for making music with my love for action figure photography. So I fused the two of them together. And I love like just vintage synthesizers and samplers and drum machines and that kind of stuff. So it's always fun to incorporate that into my toy photography. And now with 3D printing, I can just make like miniature versions of all that stuff, which is pretty fun.
Dude, when you did the whole soundboard and everything, I was like, yo, my man must have no job, cause how, bro?
Yeah,
like it
that
just
took a little
looks
bit of time.
that was detailed like crazy, with the whole
Yeah.
with everything in the studio and stuff. I was just like, wow, like that's nuts.
Yeah,
It
because
was
like
just a dope shot.
I don't know how many, but like there must have been a couple hundred little knobs and faders and buttons on there. Like it took a long time. Yeah, I needed a lot of patience to get through that one.
Has there ever been a time where maybe you're like setting up a shot and just like, yo, forget this, papers all over the air, and like I'm done, like, and like just frustrated with it?
Yeah, sometimes it does get frustrating, but I always try my best to see it through until the end. Sometimes I'll just need to take a break for like a day and do something else. That's part of the reason why I like to work on multiple things at once. Because if I'm having difficulty or getting frustrated with one project, I can just work on something else, right? And usually I find that if I take a break and then come back to it, I'll eventually be able to finish it off and get through.
Have you ever switched up an idea like midway?
Yeah, sometimes it happens. Like it could be something as little as like just the colors or the props that I'm using, or the pose that I've got the figure in. It happens from time to time. Just so, like if I'm setting up my camera and it's just not looking right, I'll have to make some changes and adjust halfway through just to complete the idea.
Nice. If you can go back and talk to like your beginner self when you first started, what would you say to yourself?
Well, I remember when I was starting out, I thought, oh, you need all this fancy equipment, all these, the expensive cameras and stuff like that. And that stuff can help for sure. But when you're just starting out, I would just focus on just practicing, just using a simple camera and just, figuring out posing and composition and all lighting and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to overcomplicate things. I would also tell myself not to worry too much about all the likes and the comments and stuff and the followers. Like people get so wrapped up in that on social media. They're like, you know, I'll post something and I only get like 10 likes and they're all like upset. And, you know, I would say don't worry about that too much in the beginning. Just, you know, create, practice, you know, just get in the habit of making stuff and taking photos. And then eventually, you know, all the likes and stuff will come. But I wouldn't focus too much on that because it really gets people down, right? I mean, they're like, I put so much time into this, no one likes it, no one's following me, and it's just like this algorithm sucks and all this kind of stuff. And I see that all the time. And, you know, I would just focus on the joy that you get out of it, you know, the passion for photography.
Yeah, that's definitely a recurring thing. Well, you know, with the show and the people I've talked to is you know, we always fall into this whole like thing, and you know, it's with me. I feel like it has its pros and cons, right? Like you're putting so much work into what you're doing that you put it out there for others to see, because in a way, you know, low key, you kind of want that appreciation. Like, oh, look, I love the way what I just did. I really like this. I dig it so much. I want you to like it too, right? And it's kind of like a Debbie Downer when you see only a few likes, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it like, you know, sometimes it kind of motivates some people to be like, oh, then I just got to do better at the next one. And also it could be like, well, this ain't for me, then no one likes it, but whatever. You know, and everybody does it because you like doing this, right? It's fun. But also like that, the whole thing, it messes with your head when you go from like something that you work so hard on. Like, let's say with the shot that we keep bringing up is the Raphael, and you get like 40 likes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you're like, oh man, but I really loved it, you know, like it could bring you down. But also it could motivate you too, right? Like to just be like, nah, now let me work harder on this. But like, again, like you said, keep practicing, doing all these things, because it does come like with Instagram in general, right? You're uploading these pictures for whoever is following you to see, right? And it's like when no one likes it, it's like, damn, I thought I liked it. I thought it was a nice shot. Like, what's going on? You know?
Yeah.
It's like a slippery slope when it comes to that. And again, it's all supposed to be for fun, but you know, it does play a major role in what you're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like if something that I post doesn't perform the way that I would like it to perform, I just kind of use that as inspiration just to go harder on the next post, right? So I'm constantly trying to improve, right? And trying out new techniques, building new props or figures that I haven't made before. Like I'm always trying to outdo myself with every project that I do. So anything negative, like you know, poor engagement or poor reception of my photos, I just try to flip it and, you know, use that to turn into something positive.
Yeah, that's cool, man. When you first started, did you know about like the whole toy community photographing thing, or did you just stumble upon it? And when you did that, if you did know about it, was there like, you know, not to say everybody, but maybe like a few guys that you started following and then like, oh man, like this is awesome?
Yeah, like I basically stumbled upon this by accident. Like just, you know, you see one video on YouTube, then you start looking more into it, and then you discover this whole community online. And definitely, you know, Sergeant Bananas was doing it big. He was one of the better, or just I really loved his work when I first got into it. Plastic Action, Jax is another one. Nose Rain. There's a few guys that I really got into and just started following, and you know, and I got a lot of inspiration from seeing their work on Instagram.
Yeah, Plastic Action's out of here, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
Stop
exactly.
motion, he's out of here.
That's another thing, man. He's doing stop motion now. Like that's so time consuming, man. Like I don't know, like I don't even know how I'd begin doing stuff like that. It's crazy.
I was getting frustrated watching like just a random YouTube video of stop motion, and I was like, just watching this in fast forward, I'm just like, no, I know.
And then like what happens if you mess up like one little figure or it falls over or something, like you're done.
Back to square one and start all over again. Like
Yeah.
that's nuts. Has that been, or maybe something like around, like, other than still photography, maybe like not stop motion, I guess, all the way, but just something different? Has like that ever popped into your head? Like maybe I could do something different with these figures and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'd love to try it sometime. I'll have to, take a bit of time to sit down and learn. That's the main thing. Like right now, there's so many things that I want to learn, but it takes time, right? And eventually, I'd love to give stop motion a shot for sure.
That'd be sick. Especially with all the stuff you got and all the I could just, it'd be crazy. With
Yeah.
with the 3D scanning and the printing that you're doing, like, have you ever like done commissions or anything? Like, has someone ever hit you up and say, "Hey, can like you just print me this or that?"
Yeah, like I get requests quite a bit. I generally don't do them just because of the time involved, and I don't know if like maybe I'm just like a perfectionist, but I just don't feel like the quality that I make is like good enough to sell. But who knows? Some people would appreciate it, but I just generally I don't like taking on commissions because they take so long and they take me away from other projects that I'd rather be spending my time on. So yeah, I like spending my time on stuff that I'm personally invested in and I'm excited about.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Dude, I was like geeking out talking to Duane. I probably didn't even ask him any questions about toy photography, to be honest with you. I've been a huge fan. Well, like I said in the last episode, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time on Behind the Lens.